Hello everyone, thank you for being here. This weekend, I was once again able to railfan Westfield, New York for the long Memorial Day weekend. We arrived Friday evening, and I would unexpectedly pick up my first train of the trip on the way to get dinner. CSX I-008 came flying through with the Do Not Hump car right behind the head end. I wasn't able to see any more trains that evening, so I went back to my lake house to enjoy a sunset and a bonfire down on the beach. I headed back over to the park around 8 a.m. the following morning to once again be stopped by a train. This would be M267, an empty Autorack train from Doremus, New Jersey to Detroit, Michigan. After 267 cleared up, I looked west down the tracks to see another headlight. This would be Amtrak 48, the Lakeshore Limited, from Chicago to New York City. Once at the park, I saw that there was a high green for a westbound. This would be M635, a loaded trash train from Selkirk, New York to Columbus, Ohio at the Sunrise landfill. Next up was eastbound I-162, a stack train with the Spirit of Birmingham locomotive trailing second. Right on the heels of 162 was CSX I-104, a higher priority intermodal train from Bedford Park, Illinois to South Kearny, New Jersey. Our first NS train of the weekend is westbound 15M on its way to Conway, Pennsylvania. The last train of the morning rush was I-020, yet another eastbound intermodal train from Bedford Park, Illinois to Worcester, Massachusetts. After that, there was about an hour-and-a-half break in the action until a green signal once again appeared. This one would be for I-169 with a very friendly crew. After that, a massive thunderstorm came rolling in off of the lake. We prepared for the rain, but as we were, an S68N came out of nowhere on NS. The 68N is an as-needed sand train from Chicago, Illinois to Sayre, Pennsylvania. Then, sure enough, the sky opened up and we were slammed with rain. As it began to calm down, CSX M217 came west on their way to Louisville, Kentucky. The next train up, also an Autorack, is M204, this one coming from Louisville and heading to Worcester, Massachusetts. Next up is westbound I-017, a priority intermodal train from Worcester, Massachusetts to Bedford Park, Illinois. The next eastbound is a loaded ethanol train with some foreign power. B119 would come rolling through eastbound from Cicero, Illinois to Eddystone, Pennsylvania. The next train over on NS is 28B, a high-priority intermodal train from Chicago, Illinois to Buffalo, New York with a very nice crew. Back over on CSX is a very late I-161. This train usually passes between midnight and 3 a.m., but today was passing around 2 p.m. About 20 minutes later, eastbound M634 comes east on the way from Columbus, Ohio to Selkirk, New York. Almost meeting the 634 is I-009, yet another westbound stack train. This one originates in Port Newark, New Jersey, and heads west to Bedford Park, Illinois. Next train is NS14E. The 14E is a strange train, being an empty Autorack reposition move from Bison Yard in Buffalo, New York to an unknown destination. About 20 minutes later, CSX I-157 comes rolling through. The I-157 comes out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and makes the long journey to Bedford Park, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. Next up is CSX I-166. The 166 is another interesting train because it originates in Schiller Park, Illinois near Chicago and heads east all the way to Buffalo, New York at the Seneca Yard. It then interchanges with CPKC and becomes train 132. The 132 then heads north to Montreal. The first manifest in a good while is CSX M565, as it rolls through at a pretty good pace, bound for the Bar Yard in Chicago. The bad weather was finally beginning to fade into the distance as CSX I-168 comes rolling through on their way to Port Newark, New Jersey. Following just behind the 168 is CSX M216. The 216 is a fully loaded Autorack train with American-made automobiles from Louisville, Kentucky. They then head east to Selkirk, New York to be prepared for export overseas. The final train of Day 2 is NS 309. The 309 originates in Binghamton, New York, and terminates in Elkhart, Indiana. I was feeling pretty bored the next day, and I couldn't get a ride to the Railfanning park, so I just rode my bike up to the McKinley Road crossing near my cottage. I would see 3 trains in my time there, first being the counterpart to that CPKC train I told you about the other day, I-165. Next was NS-28B, and finally CSX M204 with a flared Mac in the lead. That evening, I was heading into town to do some grocery shopping and noticed a headlight in the distance as I crossed the tracks. I pulled to the side, and shortly after, I-009 came screaming by, passing the M367, which I had just missed. After that, I checked the Heritage Units app to see if anything good was coming and noticed that M268 had a Heritage Unit duo. CSX 1982, the Seaboard system, led CSX 3194, the law enforcement unit. I was hoping it would come later that evening, but it was still a good distance away. I checked again around 10 p.m. that evening to see it was already east of Cleveland, so I pretty much gave up hope on it at that point. I was woken extremely early on Memorial Day to one of my brothers having a coughing fit and thought might as well just check northeast to see what time 268 cleared the previous night, and literally the second I opened the cam, M268 was passing the camera as I opened it, and sure enough...
Oh, let's go! That's class!
There was 3194, transferred to mid-DPU somewhere along the way, I'm guessing when they worked Willard. I wasted no time and rushed right up to McKinley Road to be greeted with a very slow M565. And sure enough, right behind 565 was M268 with the Seaboard law enforcement duo moving slowly eastward. I still consider it a miracle I caught this, and I have no idea how it took them 7 hours to move only 70 miles along Lake Erie. Just as I thought the morning couldn't get any better, and as 29P came west with a whopping 3 cars in tow. Alright everybody, thank you for watching. Another great weekend in Westfield with many more to come this summer.